so I met with Bill Gates back in, I think, November of 2022. And he said, you know, I didn't think it was going to happen either. They had already bought into this company. And he said, there's two parts of Microsoft. There's the eggheads at Microsoft Research, and then there's the line programmers. So the line programmers were telling me it's going to happen. We're going to have intelligence by GPT-4, and people at Microsoft Research never going to work. Why did the people, the line programmers, get it right? They just looked at a linear interpolation, a linear projection of as the data was increasing, as the size of the model was increasing, what the capabilities were. They said, according to this model, it should be really quite conversant. Whereas the rest of us who are, quote, smart, said, no way could it be. And I think it's partly because we value ourselves by our verbal virtuosity. And we could not imagine that just merely getting a model that was larger with large data would actually get it. So it was a total shock. And what I realized then was that some important parts of what we do as doctors were going to change. So it's a very interesting thought that there is this new intelligence that's amongst us. Yeah. And we don't understand it. What's a fascinating part about it, by the way, I've talked now several times to the computer programmers at OpenAI. And although they understand mechanically how it's generating the next word, and it's doing it correctly, they don't understand how it's somehow captured different patterns of thought, different abstractions, different argumentation methods. You know, humanity had a big breakthrough when we understood that there were certain things that are constant across all of our language, like Boolean logic. If true, then true. If true and false, then false. So that kind of abstraction logic, Boolean logic, we discovered. Turns out there's many, many such heuristic logics that we have that we use in language and argumentation. And somehow it's discovered those, but it's discovering them in predicting a word. And it's very strange that we have this, this thing among us that's really both thinking in ways that seem familiar, but probably mechanically doing it in a very different way than we do. And then, without very much thought, we're steering it with these various rules, and I'm not sure what it means. It does mean that Google, forgive my political incorrectness, went full DEI on us, and they're
with Gemini.
With Gemini,
yeah.
And so Gemini, I don't know if you've, my daughter gave me 4 years ago a mug that said on it "Twitter addict." It was a correct diagnosis. So, so if you follow Twitter, you know about this. If not, maybe not. So Gemini came out, really good architecture, but they had steered it through reinforcement learning so that if you asked it for the founders of America, they're all African American or Indian American. If you asked it for popes, they were black or a woman. If you asked it for Nazi soldiers, they were blacks. If you asked it, what's worse, Elon Musk
or Hitler?
Elon Musk or Hitler, it said, well, it depends. You know, Hitler killed a lot of people, but Musk is writing tweets that are pretty offensive. And so I think it's an important question because I'm wondering what is the golden calf here to the rabbi's wife.
Point.
So, you know, the Jews were actually very, very inconstant. They just, you know, they just heard God from on high speak to them, and within just a few days, someone says, "Let's build a calf," and they say, "Sure, let's do it, and we'll pray to it." And so I'm wondering here what the calf is. We have this artifact, these large language models. We have several of them. They are actually, in many ways, a reflection of us. They are the distillate, the probabilistic distillate of everything we've said. But then we have these weird artifacts as how we think human beings should talk and think. And that's being used to steer it. And so I'm just wondering, in that context, you know, what's the false god here?
That's a good question.
I'm not a medical doctor. I'm going to ask a more philosophical question, which goes back to the beginning of the conversation about the steering model and where that's driven AI models, it's kind of a thought experiment. And the question I have is, what if, as a thought experiment, we just used either, say, the Torah, or, since I'm a Catholic, the Bible, right? Either or, as the only thing that guided steering. And we got to see what the result would be with the AI model.
So what would Maimonides say about the use of the Torah as the main source of training for a pre-trained model for GPT-4?
Maimonides, also known as Rabbi Moses ben Maimon, was a medieval Jewish philosopher, jurist, and physician who lived in the 12th century. His views